me begin with a traditional prayer before we start the topic. Om Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishwaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavat Vyapta Dehaya Dakshina Murtaye Namaha Bukarastvandakaro Vairukarastanivattakaha Andhakara Nirodhitvat Gururithyabhidhiyate Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. The topic of this evening is religious belief, faith, and practice. It's a very interesting topic because in contemporary India, it can mean anything. Each of these topics is subject to multiple interpretations. But here, let us look at a traditional, a classical view regarding this particular range that we have chosen for this evening. To begin with, we can say everyone who is born in this world is born ignorant. A world which is pre-existing, when we come into it, we know nothing about anything. And whether it is the world, whether it is the people, or whether it is ourselves, really speaking, it takes even a while to recognize as babies, even our caretakers. The world that is seen, the world that is unseen is too far away to cognize. And over a period of time, we pick up knowledge. We pick up knowledge. Knowledge takes place through various sense perceptions. As a human child learns to look, arrest his attention, learns to feel, learns to smell, learns to taste, learns to use his sense organs, you find slowly and gradually, as part of one's physical growth, as part of one's cognitive growth, and as part of one's emotional growth, we have three levels of growth processes that happen to us. Physical growth, of course, is not dictated, is part of nature's program, while cognitive growth is definitely supported, aided by education. And of course, when it comes to emotional growth, There is a process that continues through one's lifetime. Because the emotional growth is connected to one's parentage, the nurturing therein, to your society, to your upbringing, to your culture, to your influences of your faith, your religion. Everything contributes to your emotional growth. And thus we become adults. In these three parallel processes, we become physical adults. We call ourselves cognitive adults when we have covered an adequate amount of education, where you can abstract, you can postulate, you can derive, you can conclude. When all these functions of abstractions are feasible for you, then you are a cognitive adult. And of course, we hope that when we are cognitive adults, we are also emotionally adults. But just because a person is a cognitive adult, he could be emotionally still a child. There may be a brilliant scientist, cognitive brilliance, but emotionally, he may have a hard time in interpersonal relationships. Who knows? Or they could be an emotional, mature adult who's cognitively not so bright. And so in the world, we have these combinations of physical, cognitive, and emotional adulthood. But whatever it may be, the process of learning about the world, about the people, about oneself is picking up knowledge, learning, and it happens through sense perceptions. It happens through inference, conclusion. It happens with the help of other people. People influence us, religion influences us, society influences us, and this is how we pick up knowledge. And in time, we learn to have an awareness of ourselves as individuals. We make conclusions about ourselves, about who we are. We make conclusions about the world, about what world is all about. We even make conclusions about God, whether he exists or does not exist. And thus, a human life continues in picking up knowledge and learning. Learning about the world, about yourself, and about others around you. Well, religious thought is also similar. Why I say similar? Because the process is similar, the topic may be different. Religious thought about God, religious thoughts about afterlife, life after life, religious thoughts about values, about practices. We all have learning about all of this, is it not? And as we learn, we recognize that these belong in two categories. Learning about religion, which is in the scope of perception and inference. Whatever our tradition says, all learning takes place about a world that you see. And therefore, sense perceptions are the pramanam, or the means. The prabala pramanam is perception. A perception for which you want to know why. How do you infer? Perceptual knowledge takes you to inferences, If you see a smoke on the mountain, you see smoke, but you infer. You perceive smoke, but you infer what? That there is fire on the mountain, is it not? How do you infer? Because you have a postulate. Yatra yatra dhumaha tatra tatra vannihi. Wherever there is smoke, there is fire. This is a postulate you have already in your system. And how did you arrive at that postulate? Because Yatha Pakashalavat. We say, like in my kitchen, whenever I try to make that toast, what happened? It got burnt. And so there was smoke. And so the smoke never came without the heat, without the fire. And this drishtanta, this example being there, there is a postulate that wherever there is smoke, there is fire. And so even if I do not see fire, but if I see smoke, I can say what? Parvataha vanhiman dhumatvat. This mountain has fire. How do you know? Do you see? No, I don't see. Then how do you know? Because there is smoke. And so you infer, and every inference is preceded by perception. Perception and inferences is how we gather worldly knowledge. But there are certain pieces of knowledge which is beyond the scope of perception and inference, Like, can you perceive heaven? Can you say, like Pakashala, like I saw that smoke in my kitchen? Can you give me a proof that heaven exists? Can you give a proof that afterlife exists? Can you give proof that rebirth exists? Well, these are beyond my scope of perception and inference. If there is a subject matter which is beyond the scope of perception and inference, please understand that comes under the scope of what we call a belief. A belief. And therefore, we define belief. We define belief as a state of mind in which an individual holds a particular proposition, a particular premise to be true. You hold a particular proposition or a premise to be true. And is it true? Maybe, maybe not. A belief may be true, a belief may be false. But there are people who consider false belief is as knowledge. Only because they are so sincere. Can false belief ever become knowledge? For a long time, people believed that the earth was flat, is it not? Those believers were sincere believers. They were sincere. But just because they were sincere, did that belief become true? No. Fact is always true to what is, not what you believe in. You may be sincere in your belief, but your very belief premise may be wrong. And therefore, the earth is flat had to be disproved. And like this, you find so much physics change. We have Newtonian physics and so on and so forth. How much change over time? Why? Because beliefs that were believed to be true as facts turned out to be false. And we could never call them knowledge. Well, let us understand, when you say something is a belief, with respect to what we accept as fact in our tradition, that which you can never verify, that which you can never verify by perception or inference, we call that belief. Then what is knowledge? Knowledge is that what you accept as fact, but it is subject to verification by your pratyaksham and anumana, by your perception and inference, that which you can verify alone, you can call knowledge. And so, when you look at religions across the world, religions always have a set of beliefs, is it not? Every religion has a set of beliefs, and these set of beliefs is stipulated by, is presented by, revealed by a founder of that religion. And how did that founder of that religion bring about that set of beliefs? Well, that founder claims that it was revealed to him. This particular fact was revealed to him through what? Through this, what we call scriptures. And so every faith, every religion has its own belief system. And this belief system is given to that group of followers by a founding member, a founder, and to whom it was, the knowledge was revealed, or that belief was revealed. Well, is that how the Hindu tradition emerges? Is that how the Sanatana Dharma emerges? With the help of a single founder being given a set of beliefs? No. Simple answer is no. The Hindu tradition has also its scriptures revealed, but it was revealed to many men and women of wisdom, whom we call rishis and rishikas. The men and women of wisdom, they were called rishis and rishikas. And these souls, to them, what was revealed by the higher worlds, we call that revelation, a body of knowledge known as Veda. And so Veda was never revealed to one man, but to many rishis and rishikas, who were known as mantra drashtaraha. They were souls who saw the mantras, the revelations. And what did they do with those revelations? They gave it in an oral tradition. They passed it on from generation to generation. This is called Karna Parampara, because what was revealed in the form of words, Shabda Pramanam, and therefore words were spoken by the masters, and those words were heard, and the heard words were received, and whoever received, they themselves passed on the teaching, and therefore they spoke. And so to the speaker, to the listener, to the speaker, to the listener, thus we have a parampara of oral tradition, and we call this Karna Parampara of the Veda, of the Vedic tradition. This Karna Parampara of the Vedic tradition, if you were to ask me, how is it different from other faiths? Let me tell you one thing for sure. They also talk about revelations. We also talk about revelations. But we need to understand one thing very clearly, that our revelations come with a very powerful teaching tradition in which the validity of the content of what is revealed, the validity of the content of what is revealed is verified by yukti and anubhava. This great parampara, this oral tradition called Sanatana Dharma, is not merely revelations, is not merely a belief system which you cannot verify. It is said Shruti, Yukti, and Anubhava. Whatever is said in these revelations, even if it is beyond the scope of perception and inference, it should be reasonable. An intelligent mind, the highest intellectual of your society, should find in those abstractions reason, logic. It should lend itself for understanding, and therefore, yukti is very important. Indian logic is considered to be one of the oldest systems of philosophy. Tarka, Shastra, we call it in the world today. They call it the Indian logic. And so, yukti, we are trained in yukti. And not only yukti, it should also be anubhava. It should lend itself for actualization in your life. And so here we have a very important difference between many contemporary existing faiths around us and this ancient living tradition which lives to this day. The ancient tradition that lives to this day, how? Because of a very strong, compartmentally tight Shruti, Smriti, Shruti, Yukti, and Anubhava process of imbibing your revelations. This is not ordinary. Veda does give us many statements. Thousands of statements are there in the Veda. And let me tell you, these statements are two types again. Statements that are verifiable, statements that are non-verifiable. The non-verifiable are belief systems that they are not available for pratyaksha and anumana, perception and inference. It's not available for experience, anubhava either. Like what? Like I said, karma, punarjanma, punya, papa. These are words. Can you verify? Does punya exist? Prove to me how punya exists. Prove to me that swarga exists. Oh, yes, Ammaji, I'll just go there, I'll check it out and then let you know. Remember, for you to go there, you have to drop your body. Once you drop your body and go there, and then you decide to come back and tell me, Ammaji, I looked around and nothing was there. You think I'm going to listen to you? This soul without a body? I'll keep you far away. I won't trust you. And that means what? What it means is it is a non-verifiable belief. We also have many non-verifiable beliefs, but we must always remember we also have what is verifiable. We have certain verifiable truths given to us by the Veda, what we call as knowledge. Knowledge. Knowledge of what? Knowledge of God. Verifiable. Knowledge of the essential nature of the self. It's verifiable. Knowledge of oneness of life on earth. Verifiable. How are you going to verify? You will verify through yukti. You will verify through anubhava. It's amazing. It's amazing. That is the reason why this great civilization was called the spiritual civilization of our planet. This is the reason why over the centuries, how many people came searching for Bharat. This is the reason why Columbus went in search for old India. Understand which India? The spiritual India, the India of wealth, the India which was complete in what it was, a civilization that knew the glory to be full. Glorious civilization it was, not only spiritually, materially also. And people came, traders came from all over the world in search of this civilization. That age we call the golden age, the Vedic age, well, Satya Yuga, am I right? Treta Yuga, am I right? They are yugas. Thousands of years we have been in existence. And so here we need to understand verifiable knowledge, verifiable truth is given to us by the Veda. We also have non-verifiable beliefs like other faiths. And one thing, people call you a faithful one if you accept a non-verifiable belief. Am I right? People call you a person of blasphemy if you don't accept what? A non-verifiable belief. And therefore, a person's loyalty to a religion is measured by whether you will accept a non-verifiable belief or not. This is not Sanatana Dharma. Sanatana Dharma, we do have our stock of non-verifiable beliefs, but please understand, Sanatana Dharma is about knowledge, is about self-knowledge, knowledge of the divine. It is knowledge which is actualized. It is knowledge which is put in a metaphysical equation, like you have E equals mc square, like you have energy equals matter. This energy equals matter, is it a belief or is it knowledge? Can I tell you to believe energy is matter? Is it a subject that lends itself to belief? No. E equals mc square. You cannot believe. You've got to know. You've got to know. And what is the process of knowing? Process of knowing is giving benefit of doubt to the physicist, to your professor. He says E equals mc square. I don't understand how energy can be matter, but I give him benefit of doubt. How long will you give him benefit of doubt? Until I understand E equals mc square. Am I right? And therefore you give benefit of doubt to the other who makes a statement, even if you do not understand the statement, and you are given enough room by the professor to ask whatever doubt you may have. The professor will never tell you, believe me. He will say, ask me questions, right? Ask. All your objections, raise your objections. I have no problem. But if you want to know, don't draw conclusions prematurely. Don't try to deny what I say without understanding what I say. You know something? When Veda says, I give you knowledge, through the Upanishads, Isha Vasyam Idam Sarvam is knowledge. When the Veda says, Isha Vasyam Idam Sarvam, all that is here is divine. It is a great equation. Aham Brahmasmi Tattvamasi, Ayamatma Brahma. These are master equations and they have to be understood. They are not belief based, they are knowledge based. That means what? That means I must give benefit of doubt to my scriptures. Please understand what is Shraddha. Shraddha or faith is not belief. That's why in my title I put religious belief, faith, and practice. It is not religious belief and practice. I don't want you to practice beliefs. I want you to practice what you will assimilate through your yukti and anubhava. Veda gives us verifiable knowledge, but for the time being, I must learn the attitude, the approach of Shraddha, because without having Shraddha, how can I ever learn what it has to say? If you don't have faith in your professor, will you ever learn this equation which looks so contradictory? There is a E here, there is a M here. The equation doesn't say E equals E. Equation doesn't say M equals M. If it was M equal M, it's easy, no? 2 equals 2. What's the big deal? But two sides of the equation are totally different alphabets. Here is a single one, here is a double one, plus there is a numeral on top. And you are drawing a equal sign between them. How? How are we going to understand without faith? Shraddha. Shraddhavan labhate jnanam is a statement of the Bhagavad Gita. It is only when you begin to enter your religion with Shraddha, time will come when that knowledge becomes yours. Why? Because the process of learning from our dharma, our Veda, the Upanishads, the Bhagavad Gita is what? The very study involves 3 factors. Remember, Shruti, Yukti, and Anubhava. And so the knowledge of God, the knowledge of Ayamatma Brahma, this is knowledge in which Veda declares, hey, you are not this physical being that you think you are. You are not a physical being in search of spirituality. Please understand, you are a spiritual being living in the physicality. You're not a physical being in search of spirituality. You don't need to search. You don't need to go anywhere. You are a spiritual being by nature, living within physicality or the physical universe. But I don't experience that. If you tell me I only experience me tangibly, I don't experience the intangible me. The Veda asks you, have you listened to me enough? Shrutam va. Have you heard me enough? My teachings come in the form of words. Have you lent yourself to the teaching? Have you exposed yourself to the teachings with Shraddha? Shraddha to know. You can ask questions, of course, but not to criticize and condemn, even without knowing what Shruti has to say, Veda has to say. And therefore, when I approach my dharma, my religious text, the approach needs to be one of faith. Please understand, and a faith of a disciple who wants to know, who wants to learn. When with that shraddha, with the right attitude, I approach my tradition, amazing secrets of the universe are revealed to us. And the greatest equation, the master equation, the Bhagavad Gita says, Raja Vidya Raja Guhyam Pavitramiha Vidyate. Raja Vidya. This knowledge of oneness is a king of all knowledge. King is a Raja, Raja Vidya. And you know something? It is the secret of all secrets. It's the king of all secrets. It's the secret of the universe. Why do you call it a secret? You know why? Because what you see is diverse and what truly exists is one. What these eyes show you, the physical eyes reveal to you a world of duality. It is the third eye, the eye of wisdom, that makes you know that the world of duality is incidental, while non-duality is truth. And therefore, it's a great secret. It remains a secret unless and until we reach the Veda with Shraddha and learn. And so please understand, religious beliefs is one thing, but a religious faith, a faith that can give you knowledge, is unique to this tradition, because it's knowledge of the divine, knowledge of your higher self, knowledge of the oneness, which is not seen by the naked eye, but which is the truth of all that is. This is the essence of the Veda. But Ammaji, this is knowledge, means it is intellectual, is it not? No. And that's where we come to religious practices. Please understand. Religious belief, religious faith, and religious practices. Why practices? Because practices are expressions of one's faith and one's belief. Hindu tradition sees divinity in all that is. Our philosophy, our convictions, religious convictions are deep-seated, understand? Deep-seated. And they influence your value system. They influence how you understand yourself, how you understand life forms on earth. And these convictions, religion has a big role to play. In the Hindu tradition, our Vedic tradition, the tradition of Sanatana Dharma, claims repeatedly, consistently, in hundreds and thousands of words and literature. What does it claim? That all that is here is the divine. All that exists is an expressions of the divine. Ishavasyamidam sarvam. Bhagavad Gita says, Kshetrajnam chapi mam vidhi sarva kshetreshu bharata. There are umpteen statements about all that is here is divine. It declares that there is only one truth. However you want to define it, you define it. But the truth is only one. Every being is connected to the divine as a created, connected to the creator. If you have 5 children, what is your relationship to different children? Tell me. They are created. You are the creator, no? The relationship is one of a created towards a creator. All life on earth is created. And wherever there is life, it has its relation to the creator. And in that relationship, there is no difference. In the awareness of the relationship, there may be difference, but in the relationship, there is no difference because no created being is away from its creator. And this is not ordinary, not ordinary knowledge. And so we have here, when the Dharma says all that is here is sacred, everything you see is sacred. The sun is sacred, the stars are sacred, the moon is sacred, the rivers are sacred, the trees are sacred, the air is sacred. You are sacred, I am sacred. There is nothing which is not sacred. Isha Vasimidam Sarvam, when it declares, and it is the sacred that sustains the creation, then what is a practice? What is a religious practice for a Hindu? A religious practice is twofold. The great Hindu consciousness of this age-old civilization has been seen in this culture through its practices. What has been seen? Twofold attitudes that the Hindu mind is being known for. And do you know what that is? The attitude of gratitude and the attitude of reverence. If all that is here is sacred, then reverence towards those trees, those mountains, those rivers, those stars, that moon, that sun, the skies, you, me, all of us, every life form is reverential. It is a most powerful, deep, profound vision of the Veda and therefore reverential. I'm living in a world which is to be revered, not to be slaughtered, understand? To be revered. And so, reverence has been the way Hindu Dharma has been. Sanatana Dharma, that is where your Ganga is worshipped, Yamuna is worshipped. That is where Arunachala, the mountain, is worshipped. The Ashwatha tree is worshipped. That is where the divine, the infinite, omniscient being is worshipped, keeping these symbols as symbols of worship. Every faith needs a symbol for worship, is it not? Whether it be a cross, whether it be a Kaaba, whatever be your symbol, every emotion of devotion or love requires a symbol for expression. Can you express love to your loved one without a symbol? If you would, why would you go buy red rose and give on a Valentine's Day to your beloved and say, hey, I love you? Why would you do that? Because you want a symbol. All of us need symbols. I want to take my love. I don't know how to express. I put my love into this rose and then I hand over this rose. And the other side receives the rose with as much joy. And when her friend says, hey, what a beautiful rose, give it to me. And she says, no, you take that one, don't take this one. Why? Because this one has the love of my beloved. The rose becomes a symbol, especially the red rose, not yellow rose, red rose, on a Valentine's Day is symbolic of that sentiment called love, is it not? All the practices that your religion gives you, such as upavasa, fasting, pilgrimage, worship, maunam, observing silence, so on and so forth, so many practices are meant for what? For reminding my connection to the divine. Practices are meant, they're symbols of offering of oneself into that relationship, because without symbols, without forms, human beings don't know how to express. You want to honor your nation. How do you honor your nation? By salute. Saluting what? A piece of cloth. A 2 by 2 piece of cloth that you call a flag. Is it just a piece of cloth? Well, not with that color, those colors. It's not a piece of cloth. That cloth symbolizes my nation, whom I revere, is it not? And therefore, without symbols, you cannot actualize, you cannot materialize, you cannot experience your belief system. And here, the culture of this land, this ancient civilization, the Sanatana Dharma culture is a culture that has actualized, that has materialized, that has shown in its multiple symbols these great truths of Isha Vasimidam Sarvam. Through the rivers, the mountains, the sun, and so on, we have so many symbols pointing out that one truth, that all that is here is the divine. It is not a belief system, it is knowledge. How do you say so? Because we have had hundreds and thousands of saints in this culture, in this tradition, who are spokespeople for that knowledge of the divine. Bhagavad Gita teaches us how to reach him. It says you're looking for Atma. Gita talks about self-knowledge. Atma Darshanam is Ishvara Darshanam. Ishvara Darshanam is Atma Darshanam. And the Bhagavad Gita gives a stepwise process, beautifully explained from chapter 7 to 12, culminating in chapter 12, where the Bhagavad Gita beautifully describes, you know what? You can begin your worship of the divine as Eka Rupa Bhakti. Let your devotion begin with Eka Rupa Bhakti, where you worship the Lord in one form, which is symbolic of your devotion. From Eka Rupa Bhakti, you expand your consciousness to Aneka Rupa Bhakti, where the Lord is all forms. Vishwarupa Darshanam. Is that how the Lord is? The divine is? Not enough, not yet complete. Eka Rupa Bhakti to Aneka Rupa Bhakti to Arupa Bhakti. From the Saguna to the Nirguna, Ishvara. Eka Rupa to Aneka Rupa is expansion of your consciousness. Aneka Rupa to Arupa is knowing the divine beyond the physical perceived universe. And so we have a great journey. If I'm ready for this journey, the Veda has everything available. To this day, our oral traditions have been powerfully, beautifully protected by our Purvajas, by our ancestors. Protected for who? For us, for our generation to enjoy. And so learning the Veda, learning the Bhagavad Gita, the scriptures, which describe the oneness of the individual with the divine, is really understand the greatest gift you can give yourself. And I am sure, knowing from Srinivasanji all that I know about your community of friends, the wonderful work you do for your dharma, please make sure that you include the knowledge tradition also. Because India has always given knowledge the highest place in our society. And therefore, learning, education into Veda, education into this great tradition, and filling your heart, learning how to choose dharma and moksha as life path is education. And I'm sure you will look into this closely because over 1,000 years, our civilization received quite a beating. Beating from various sources. We had so many invaders. We had so much that was looted and destroyed because this land had all the divine blessings, which the other lands did not. People of other civilizations did not. They came here to take. We never went out to cross our oceans and grab lands of other nations. We never did that, did we? Look into your history. We never ever crossed the ocean and occupied lands of other civilizations. But every other civilization came here and looted. And well, the 1,000 years of shattering that happened, it is time in free India, in independent India, we wake up to our own wealth, we reclaim our treasures, our knowledge treasures really, because we are the first stakeholders of the spiritual tradition of Sanatana Dharma. I trust, I believe all of you will make this your own life mission so that our next generation doesn't lose out. And let us say, so that we don't lose out. Sitting on wealth, we don't even know how to open the case of our treasury. It's not going to help our society. And therefore, let us join hands in this cultural awakening program, process, learn, and whatever. We are never shy about answering questions and queries. I told you, if we are shy, then we are not open enough. We don't trust our knowledge systems. Sanatana Dharma is fiercely trustworthy in its knowledge systems. It doesn't let you rest with belief. It draws you, attracts you, calls you. Learn, ask, and know and be free. Thank you all. Hari Om Tat Sat. Om Sarva Mangala Mangalye Shive Sarvartha Sadhake Sharanye Trembake Gauri Narayani Namostute. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.